Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
Today we're going to be talking about some very interesting video games. We previously talked about SWAT cats on our last episode, and long story short, it was a '90s cartoon about cats and explosions. The video game is also about explosions. Oh, and SWAT Cats was also about rock music. Definitely about rock music.
Yeah.
It's also rock music and explosions. But this is a video game that you may have seen in an arcade. You may have stumbled upon it at somebody's house on their.
Or you might have even played it yourself on your own home
exactly.
console.
And if you're an Aerosmith fan, then you know exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Revolution X, which is just this wild shooter that just happened to have Aerosmith because why the hell not? Before we get started, we do have to run over a spiel, but I do want to give a nice little shout out to a lady named Jacqueline Morici. Who she's a very nice person. She has her own YouTube channel. She does reaction videos. They're a hoot. You should check her out. She's a very she's really cool. And the reason that that we're giving her the shout out is because she happened to stumble upon the SWAT Cats video, and she so kindly shared it in the SWAT Cats subreddit, which is helping out with the views. And thank you very much, Jackie. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. So now we've said thank you and we've done something nice. So our good deed for the day is done. We are Why Does This Exist? We talk about everything weird that's happened in pop culture, whether it's a TV show, a movie, a video game, music, or just weird toys, weird phenomena that have occurred, literature, comic books, you name it. We're going to talk about it, and we'll probably get to it eventually, just as long as pop culture stops and we'll just never run out of things to talk about. So we'll never ever get to everything, but maybe one day we will, if they just cure dying and ages and just aging. So maybe they'll do that and we'll have shows forever, or maybe they won't and we'll just get old and die like everybody else. You can help support our show while we're still alive in multiple ways. You can start by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. We have extra little goodies in store for you, just to help keep you interested. Some of that includes picking a show for us to actually do at some point. So you will name the episode, and of course, don't be crazy and give us something very inappropriate, but also give us a cool topic, and we have no choice but to talk about it. Or also, there's just other involvements. There's watch along videos. There's bonus banter. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there for you. Patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. That's how. And you can also do so by heading over to YouTube, where we also post all of our episodes, and we also break up some of our episodes into clips for you. You can do that. Just head over to YouTube. The channel is Why Does This Exist? The question mark. You'll find us, you'll listen to all of our stuff. You can support us by liking the videos, commenting on the videos, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the notification bell. Even though nobody likes it, you could do that just so that it keeps you informed and you always know that we have an episode coming. You can also you can also support us on social media. You can find us on Twitter. That's twitter.com/WDTEpod. And you can also like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/whydoesthisexistpod. If you want to support us privately, you can email us over at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com. And we also have some additional articles and some goodies that you can check out at whydoesthisexistpod.com. If you just want to listen to us in digital media device land, there's nothing wrong with that. You can find us over on Podbean, YouTube, of course, as we just mentioned, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, TuneIn, Alexa, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, and Stitcher. And on any of those platforms, if you can leave a review, be sure to leave a nice review for us. It helps get more traction. It helps more people find this. If you like what we're doing, we appreciate you. Thank you for everything. That's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. Let's get on with the goddamn show. Wow, that was really smooth. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
That was flawless.
Flawless victory.
Yes. Oh, that's something interesting about this. So, speaking of Mortal Kombat things, the motion capture actress person. This is Kerry Hoskins. She is she's the main baddie, Headmistress Helga, which we'll talk about. But she also plays.
Oh yes.
She also plays the cage dancers, which we'll get into that in a minute. But Kerry Hoskins is also the motion capture actress in the original Mortal Kombat games, who is Sonya Blade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's just a neat little nugget of trivia in there for all of you gamers out there. So I just thought that might be a funny thing to mention. But Revolution X, it's a shooter game where where Aerosmith and their cool and the power of music help save the day from the New World Order or the New Order Nation regime.
Yes, the New Order Nation, Non.
Yeah.
And all the enemies are called Non-boys.
Yeah, there's QAnon, there's just Non. This original Non. Not to be confused with the delicious Indian bread.
And they're very, obviously clearly supposed to be meant, the SA from, Nazi Germany, pretty much. They wear, the shirt with the tie and the jack boots and shit. And they all wear gas masks. All the regular non-boys wear gas masks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some, reference that there's some kind of, mutants or some shit, because in one of the levels you go to South America. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's just talk about what the game is first. Yeah. So we'll talk about the plot in a second, because the plot is fucking, it was written by, some guy who did meth or something, so...
Yeah, it's really freaking bizarre.
Yes. So the game, some people, you might have, I don't know if how old our listeners are or our listener base, but if you're old enough to remember arcades, you may have seen this in the arcades back in the day, in the 90s. It was a staple of 90s arcades. You might even be able to find it in more modern arcades, that have some of the old, the classic arcade games. But the arcade machine was pretty popular, and it was famous for having the giant ass guns. It had these giant machine guns that you used, that were, they were fixed to the arcade machine itself. They weren't you didn't pick them up like a regular light gun. They were actually fixed to the machine. It was almost on a swiveling turret that you kind of used them and fired them.
Which is now kind of the norm for the shooter arcade games. If you go into if you can find an arcade to go to, or I guess a Dave & Buster's now.
Yeah, Dave & Buster's is an arcade.
Dave & Buster's has a couple of them.
They still have arcades down the shore and stuff like that, and you can find them around.
Yeah, and there's barcades have become very popular over the last
yes.
years. So You'll probably
Well,
you
that's
chances
the thing is that
find an Aerosmith at one point.
all the kids that were, that grew up in the 90s playing in arcades and the 80s and the 90s are now, adults, so it was the smartest idea in the world to have barcades because you just all those kids that miss arcades and the nostalgia craze is like at an all-time high, so it's like, oh, let's get all these kids that were not kids in the 90s can now drink, they're on all the drink, and they can come drink and play arcade games that they played when they were kids.
But I mean, it's the thing that I also love the most about barcades is is like you can go in by yourself and you can just instantly make friends. Like
Yes.
it's all of like it takes all of the creepiness out of the bar, or it takes all of like the weirdness of like trying to introduce yourself to people at the bar, especially if you're like if you just want to like mingle with whatever with whoever you're into or whatever you're into. If you just want to mingle with somebody, if you just want to like just kind of like get an icebreaker or something, it's so much easier to do that by saying, "Hey, do you want to play Ninja Turtles and try to beat turtles in time?" Instead of
Yeah.
trying to use a pickup line, or "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" or just trying to just like think of any like lame icebreaker. Like there you go. Or like just if you want to hang out with people instead of just like trying to find some awkward way to just like get into their conversation to hang out with some people. If you're by yourself, you just walk up to a group, "Hey, do you guys want to beat turtles in time?" And then there you go, you've just made new friends, or at least you found people to hang out with for
Hmm.
at least a half hour. And also, you don't even have to drink. Like this is a great place if you're straight edge, but your friends just want to hang out. Like this is a great middle ground if you don't drink. So like it has something for everybody. And the bar is still making money from whatever quarters or things you're pumping into to the machine. So you really can't lose with a barcade, and they usually have good craft beers too.
Yeah.
The best barcade that I ever went to was in Portland, Oregon, when when I was visiting our good friends Chuck and Ashley.
Hmm.
This was several years ago. But it was my first and only visit to Portland. But I gotta say I really loved the place. That city has something for everybody, especially if you're just like it's just like a hub for just like like a weirdo like myself. And I like there's just like a metal nerd culture there that's just really cool. And I love that city. I can't wait to go back. But the barcade there was like two levels. It was like just the first level was like really open. Like the ground floor was just super open, and then like it had like skee balls and like air hockey and everything like that, and foosball. And then in the back there were like the rail shooter arcades and everything. And then on the top floor, it was like on the second level was my favorite. It was just pinballs. I love pinball.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played pinball in some time, but God, I love it. I used to like it, I used to do stand up every once in a while at this place in Queens called the Creek in the Cave, where they do like a rapid fire open mic night. So
Hmm.
everybody gets 2 minutes, and they just you put your name in a hat, they pull you out, and then you got 2 minutes to just like try like with your best material or whatever you're working on to just see what works and what doesn't, and you really got to be quick. Um, but I would go for the comedy. I'd do the comedy. And you like sometimes some nights were great. Some nights I bombed like crazy, but it didn't matter. You went there. You went for the you went for the comedy. You stayed for the pinball because they had a few pinball machines, and they always had a bunch of new ones. They like they had like the Iron Maiden one, or they would have or they had the Sopranos one. That one I was pretty good at. And there also used to be like a skate shop in the village that I used to go to, and they had like a bunch of pinball machines in the back. Like they actually had the Tommy pinball machine from the Who, based on the Tommy movie. And
That's interesting.
yeah, and it was like a wooden arcade machine. It was like a wooden pinball machine.
So you could be a pinball wizard.
Yeah, and it played the song too.
Well, I mean,
And
obviously, if it didn't,
obviously,
it would be a
it would be
failure.
pretty stupid, they but in the in the main I guess like in the window or in the display, the main display of the pinball of like just where the screens would be, the high score, everything.
Hmm.
They actually had a vintage. They had a concert ticket from the Tommy tour that was like that. I guess they must have taken it out of. I guess they must have taken the plexiglass off for a moment, and they put the ticket stub behind it, and then they put it back in, so it was like clearly there in the machine. So it was like as authentic as it could get. It was so cool. That skate shop is unfortunately no longer with us. I don't know what happened to that pinball machine. Hopefully somebody bought it. But man, I love a good pinball. If I could ever get a pinball machine, I absolutely would do it. I don't have the space right now, but
Yeah.
one day I will have a pinball machine. They are expensive though, but I will have one.
Hmm.
Anyway, but Revolution X is not a pinball machine.
No, it's a
It's a crazy rail shooter.
yeah. Rail shooters were very popular in the 90s, for those who don't know, because it was basically like, it was a first person shooter, but they really couldn't put a first person shooter in an arcade. It really wouldn't work. So they did rail shooters, which is like, you're on rails and you just shoot everything that you see on the screen, essentially. Um, with a few exceptions. Obviously, like, some games had it where, like, the civilians would pop up, and if you shoot them, you get, like, you lose a life, or something like that. But Revolution X was not that. It was pretty much destroy everything you can on screen, and literally every building, every plant, every table, everything is destructible.
Every window is
Yes.
you need to leave the buildings just totally like destroyed. Everything
Yeah.
needs to be wrecked so that you can upgrade your weapons. You go from shooting bullets that look like little Mario fireballs that he's spitting
Yeah.
out to like when you shoot this to CDs.
Yeah, you get to shoot. So you have your
You get
regular
to,
machine gun, which is the fireball. Looks like little the Mario fireballs, and you never have to reload. So you're constantly just shooting that.
you're
Then you
just
get
holding the trigger
CDs.
basically the entire time.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you get the CDs, and the CDs are basically like your missiles. Like you can launch them out, and they do more damage. They explode. If you hit a non-boy with them, they'll like explode into like pieces. Like their friggin' arms and legs will fly off, and they'll just explode. And then you get flaming CDs, which are even more powerful and do a shit ton more damage, and they're really useful for like boss fights. Um,
Yeah, the boss fights are
which
pretty intense.
the boss fights are pretty crazy, and the
Like they
bosses, you have to. It's really hard because you have to destroy like literally every single like little piece of the boss, and it's hard to tell sometimes what still needs to be destroyed. Like in particular,
especially on Super Nintendo or
yes,
Sega Genesis or Sega Saturn because like the regular arcade to the like the regular arcade is pretty clear
yeah,
going on, but when they ported it down to like the 32-bit systems and everything, they had to like there was so much like they just couldn't handle the full game yet. Like the
yeah.
technology of
The
these games
PlayStation
wasn't
version could.
close to it.
The,
Yes, the
the
PlayStation
PlayStation version
version
was all
could.
right. It was pretty much the full game as far as I remember. I did rent the Super Nintendo version at one point, and it was like as bad. It was bad. Like it was not like the Super Nintendo really, like you said, really could not handle it. And like they obviously had to cut things. And also the Super Nintendo version was censored. They had toned down the blood a little
Hmm.
bit. And some of like there's basically there's strippers you have to save. And so they toned that down a little bit. They're like more. They're not as scantily clad. In the
Yeah,
arcade version and the PlayStation version, they're pretty much wearing just like a bikini and a thong.
yeah,
And I
and
think in
also
like
when they're dancing, like they're like they turn around and like you could see their butts. Where like
yeah,
on the right on like the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, they're like you only see them from the front.
yes. And basically you have to rescue them. Like in the first level, they're dancing in cages. You have to like let them out of the cage, and you just get extra points for rescuing them. It's
Hmm.
typical like rail shooter kind of thing. Um, and then so you get the CDs that blow shit up, and they're really
Hmm.
good. You also get a power up where like Steven Tyler will yell out "Baby kablam!" and then everything on the screen just explodes at once. It's
I
like a
forgot
giant
about that.
skull. Yeah.
At the
And you get
beginning of
like a
the at the beginning of the game, like Steven Tyler, like he he like sings "Toasty" as as like a direct reference to Mortal Kombat because
yeah, well, it was. I mean, it was developed by Midway,
yeah,
so
so
it's
of
very
course,
clearly, you know. Um,
so there's
so
another
I guess we
Mortal
can at least
Kombat
talk about the
tie-in.
plot a little bit because if we're
Yeah,
mentioning
we
Steven Tyler.
yeah.
So the game features Aerosmith, and not just like their music, like literally features the band Aerosmith. They are
Hmm.
in the game. They did full voice work and motion capture for the game, and they're characters in the game. And basically, the basic premise is that you're like a youth of the '90s, you know, that is going to see an Aerosmith concert at a place called Club X in LA. But right at this point is when the Non, which is the New Order Nation, decides to take over, and they make everything illegal. Music, television, video games, everything is now illegal. Um, and basically, so now the Non boys are all out in force, and they're trying to like crack down on everything. And you kind of fight your way to the club to see Aerosmith, and they get taken away by the Non boys. Like they come in and like usher them off stage, and that's they're gone.
So
So then you
one thing before the whole band gets taken off on before they get like taken off, like Steven Tyler, like he gives you like this tidbit of information to like, and he goes, remember, music is a weapon,
yeah,
and like then the next thing you know, like you're just like,
you're shooting CDs out like it's
yeah,
literally. He means it literally. Music is a
yes,
weapon. Like you're shooting CDs, exploding CDs. Um, and so you go backstage and you're in their dressing room. And so remember where I said you literally destroy everything, because you literally destroy everything. Like anything you could see, you blow up, and that's how you get points, you get power ups and shit like that. So when you get to the dressing room, there's like a big screen on the wall, like a big TV screen, and you blow it up. You blow it the fuck up. It just gets shattered and destroyed, and right. So
yeah.
after you clear out the dressing room of all the Non boys that are dropping in, Steven Tyler appears on the screen that you just blew up. Like he uses like some kind of weird magic technology that makes the screen still be able to work, even though you literally just fucking destroyed it.
It's probably the scarf.
Yeah. I mean,
He
it's the
probably
power
has
of
a
music. It's probably
he
the power.
that well, that and probably the enchanted scarves.
Yeah. Um.
That's
So that
gotta
he
be how
tells
they kick
you
drugs. It wasn't rehab. It was the magic scarves.
the magic scarves of Steven Tyler.
Oh, that's
So
romance
he tells
novel.
you to.
Maybe it'll be a tempted and
Oh
tantalizing
God,
next
no!
year.
Oh no! Don't say these cursed words. He tells you to find their car and stop the New Order. That's literally what he says. Is like, it's one of those like, if you're watching this, he's like, if you're watching this, then they've taken over. It's
Yeah.
like all melodramatic and stuff. And he's like, oh, find our car and stop the New Order, right? So then you escape from the club and you have to go find Aerosmith's car. So you steal a helicopter and are flying through the streets of L.A.,
I don't
blowing
understand
fucking
why
people
you
up.
have to find the car.
Like I don't
You've
either.
already
And why is it?
stolen. You've
No,
already
Aerosmith
stolen a
is
helicopter. You're trying
well.
to
What the
find
exactly?
Aerosmith. So if you're trying to save Aerosmith, it would make way more sense to just use the helicopter you've just stolen.
Why the fuck is their car not parked out back behind the club that they're playing? Why is it like so far away that you need a helicopter to get there? That's really like
Well,
the
the
question that
non.
Jimmy asked.
The non probably stole their car and like transported
But
it wherever they
it's just
needed
like
to go.
parked under a fucking palm tree. It's not like stolen or anything. It's not like a secret facility.
So it's
It's
just
just
not
like
in LA. It's just in LA somewhere.
yeah, it's just parked on the fucking side of the road.
So what's the point?
Exactly.
They must not have like a good driver or something, or maybe like the backstage area was like
Well, here's the other thing that
amps or
doesn't make
something.
sense.
Maybe
Here's
there's
the
no
other thing.
loading area in the building. Like it might like I don't know.
Aerosmith's
This
car.
doesn't seem like a well constructed club.
Well, Aerosmith's car is a two-seat Lamborghini. Aerosmith is a five-person band. How the
All
hell
grown
do
men,
they?
by the way, fully grown men.
Yes, how do they fit in a two-seat Lamborghini?
Magic scarves.
Yeah, it
There
must
has
be.
to be some old magic in those silken scarves they found. For when he placed him on his neck, he began to dance around.
Oh no.
Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler.
I don't know. I'm trying to do something with the Frosty the Snowman lyrics, but
Steven Tyler the snowman, and
that's
he's a
all I
snowman
got.
because he does
He's
a lot of coke.
Steven the Snowman. There we go.
Because he does coke all the time, so
Yeah,
they call him the snowman.
I've solved the mystery. I guess
All right.
that's the case cracker. No, it
And
isn't
now
me. It's not
we're
even
getting
me in the
sued by
shower. It's Steven Tyler's scarves.
now we're gonna get sued by Steven Tyler.
Fine. He
uh,
can come on the show and he can rectify this.
yeah.
Also, like clear up like any information.
Tell us why
Tell us the secret of the scarves.
Yeah, how do they all fit in one little Lamborghini? How does the scarf magic work to make them fit in there?
It has to be the scarves.
I guess it must be. So you find Aerosmith's car, you get in it, and I forgot also when he gives you this video of like him like telling you they've taken over, go find our car. He throws the car keys to you from the TV screen. They just come out of the TV screen. So I don't know if they were like in like a secret compartment that just launches out, or he literally just used the magic of the scars to throw the keys through time and space.
He can teleport through the magic of the scarves. That's it. There's nothing else. Also, how does Aerosmith like know about the non?
Well, I guess they didn't because I don't know. Maybe like the non was like a popular political party and they were like slowly gaining traction, and then eventually like on this particular night is just like when they do their like their Reichstag fire, like it's their time to take over basically.
I guess there's no actual backstory to them. There's nothing that like tells us about them through like
Oh, they're just generic bad guys that hate everything cool. They're generic, like, fascist jackboot bad guys that hate cool things like music and video games. It's like the most stereotypical enemy there could possibly be.
Yeah.
So
anyway, we get to
the car.
It's just parked, miles, like hundreds of miles away on the other side of Los Angeles with like, but we find the car with the stolen helicopter. You get out of the helicopter and you steal to get the car.
Yeah. Which the car...
The helicopter is armed, by the way, because you had to take the helicopter down, because the helicopter is a boss fight.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you're in a helicopter fighting another helicopter, which is the boss fight. And this is what I was talking about before, is this helicopter is friggin' hard, because you have to, like, destroy the tiniest little parts. Like, there's panels on the side of the helicopter you have to destroy. You have to destroy this tiny little friggin', like, opening where, like, fireballs shoot out of, and it's, like, so hard to see.
All while it's nonstop shooting rockets at you. Like,
yes, and you have to shoot the rockets down, because otherwise they do a massive amount of damage. Now, when I played it on the PlayStation...
You never really get any time to like react to anything that's going on, because
this was a token taker game.
Yeah, the minute 100%. That you show up, like just the minute that you even you get set on the rail, everything just starts like coming at you nonstop. Like
yes,
there's never any breathing room. There's never anything. You're just consistently bombarded with like 5 bad guys at a time. So you have to just like spray and pray the whole game.
When I played it on the PlayStation, like that was like better, because the PlayStation, they gave you like a lot of lives. They gave you like 15 lives or something to start out with, and I think you could get more as you went on.
I think it's 20 that you start with.
It might, it was a lot, and I think you had unlimited continues too. Like you could die and just press start and go back to like where you were, but if you like got a game over, you would just go to like the beginning of the level again or something. And so it wasn't
and I think up to 3 players could play.
It was 2. It was 2 players on the PlayStation. Okay,
because
it was 3, I think, on the original arcade version. Okay. I mean, maybe if you had like one of those multi-tap things. I don't know if they had that. I guess they did for the original PlayStation. I mean,
they had it for the PlayStation.
Yeah, because you could play like CTR. You could play CTR 4 players on the original PlayStation. So I guess maybe they did have 3 players if you had the multi-tap.
Probably only for probably only for the PlayStation. So like that at least makes it easier.
Yes.
If you were by yourself, this game was extremely difficult. But if you were playing with a friend and you were both just like spraying and praying, it wasn't that bad.
No. the hardest level by far. So once you get to their car, you get to choose. Now you have 3 different levels you get to choose from, and you can do them in any order. The hardest level by far, and this is usually the one that I would try to complete first, just to get out of the way because it was a pain in the fucking ass. Was the Middle East level because basically, so what is it? Joey Kramer, who's the drummer, um, basically this is what happens when you pick a level. One of the band members tells you what the level's about, but it's like the stupidest, like shortest thing ever. And so Joey Kramer comes on and he's just stop the New Order bus, and you go into the level. So no explanation. You just have to stop the New Order bus. Well, apparently the New Order bus is some school bus that's armed to the teeth that's bringing children to the New Order re-education camps in the middle of the Egyptian desert. So, because the Sphinx and shit and pyramids are in the background. So you have to go. You have to stop this bus. Now this is the biggest pain in the ass because the bus varies its speed. It'll speed up. It'll slow down, and you have to vary your speed too. Like you have like a little control at the top of the screen that you have to shoot. And this is the biggest pain in the ass because you have to shoot it to like make it go. So like if you want to slow down, you have to shoot the thing to make it slow down. And if you want to go speed up, you have to shoot. And so you have to keep constantly moving your cursor up to do that. I mean, that's at least was on the PlayStation. Obviously, the arcade, you could just aim and shoot. But the PlayStation, you had a cursor to, that would aim for you. So honestly, and it would, like, if you hit like the go fast button too many times, you would fucking leave the New Order bus in the dust, and it would take you so long. And you're timed because you have to stop the bus before it gets to the re-education camp. And if you don't do it, you're screwed. You lose. You have to go back to the beginning. And so it's a constant struggle of like trying to maintain your speed so that way you don't fall too far behind and also not go too fast because then you lose the bus completely and then you're screwed. And also I'd like to point out you're stopping the New Order bus because it's bringing children to like a re-education camp to get like indoctrinated by the non. But then you're stopping it by blowing it up. You're killing all the children on board.
They couldn't be saved. Let's face it.
Yeah, I mean you're a monster.
It was too late. It was too late for them.
So that's the hardest level by far. It's a pain in the ass. It's basically like one long boss fight level.
So where in the Middle East are they specifically, or is it just the Middle East?
It says the Middle East.
Like what exactly is going on?
It just says the Middle East, but it's got to be
maybe
Egypt,
that's where they're getting.
Maybe
that's where they get the funding.
Well, yeah, it could be.
I mean, oil is clearly behind this.
Big oil.
This is clearly big oil. I don't know how else to say it.
The Sphinx is in it, so it's got to be Egypt.
Probably. Unless they really just don't know, and they were just like, all right, just put pyramids there. I don't know. Like, just put them in a desert, give pyramids there, and I don't know, figure something out. Maybe throw in a camel or two. Like, I can't imagine that there was a lot of thought that went into the design of that level.
No. Well, and the stupidest thing is that the bus, you have to literally destroy every single piece of the bus. The windows, the fucking, stair to, the door, the stair to, climb up on the bus. Yeah,
it's not enough to just shoot the tires parts. And then,
this is all essential parts that make it drive, is the fucking stairs and the fucking windows and the door.
Don't forget the mirror. They need to know where they're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, they don't know where they're going.
And it has giant guns on top of it, too, that constantly shoot you. So you're and there's these weird guys on roller skates that chase you down, too. It's one of the non-boys. So, at the end of each level, they tally up all the non-boys that you killed, and there's all different ones. And they're based on the level. In this one, there's, roller skate guys, because they have to, roller skate to keep up with this vehicle that you're driving or something.
But there's no possible way that they would be able to roller skate fast enough.
They're fucking magic. They use the power of the magic scarf.
I mean, they must be oil. They must be oil charged or something. They must have something on them. There must be some mechanical device shooting these things forward.
Well, that's not even the weirdest enemy. This is just one of the more normal enemies. When you get to the next level, the other level is the Pacific Rim, it's called. They don't tell you where in the Pacific Rim, so it could be anywhere from between fucking Japan and the United States, anywhere. Uh, it's just the Pacific Rim, and you're attacking this generic like mega corporation that is like in a skyscraper that's like 1,000,000 stories tall.
Yeah, there's ninjas there, so maybe
Yes,
the
but
non-boys are
this,
ninjas. So maybe you are in Japan.
well, it's the non like
Say,
boys that are ninjas, but they look like Power Rangers. They don't look like ninjas.
yeah,
They're like in like brightly colored clothing, like yellow and like pink,
you
hot
can,
pink
yeah, like
clothing.
you can pretty much only tell that they're ninjas because they're throwing ninja stars at you.
Yes, and the ninja stars look really weird too. They're like red.
Yeah,
It's just a very bizarre level, and it's you go through, and eventually the boss is like the like head of the company, and like he's like standing there, like basically with his hands on his hips, like thrusting his like dick towards you. Like, and there's like a bunch of guys that do this. It's just like their generic pose. It's like they have to like, show off their manhood or something. I don't know.
just
So
pelvic
you shoot
thrusting.
him, and he goes flying behind his desk, and then his desk turns into like a flying robot desk. Like, and he's just sitting in it, and it's got like missile launchers and fucking like armor plating and shit. So you have to blow that up, and
It's like the
you
Mr.
kill that.
Burns robot in the Simpsons arcade.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually you know what it reminds me of is friggin' I don't know if you ever played Castlevania Symphony of the Night when you fight Dracula, the last when you fight him in the Upside Down Castle, the last Dracula fight, and he's like,
Yeah,
now witness my true form, and it's literally him sitting in his throne, and then he just like spawns this giant like bat wings with
yeah,
claws, and he's like sitting there. It's like what like your true form is you sitting in a fucking chair. It's basically this guy. It's the same
yeah.
thing.
The chair is the through is the true form. He has to pose
Yeah,
himself with the chair.
yeah.
It's very poetic. There's a
I guess.
there's a lot of
Maybe his true
metaphors
form,
going on.
he's just like a fucking couch potato in his true form. Like, yeah, this is my true form. I don't really fucking want to fight. I just want to sit in my chair and relax.
Yeah, this is very deep stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand people digital device land.
The final level, or well, I guess it doesn't really. There's no final level. It's just the other level. The third level is you go to the Amazon jungle. Again, doesn't specify where. Just the Amazon jungle, and you have to stop. Joe Perry tells you this one, and he's like, "These guys are maggots. They're putting chemicals in all our food." That's the mission briefing. So you go
Great.
to this
Good,
fucking
good
place.
stuff, Joe.
Yeah. You go to this place in the Amazon jungle where the non-boys are now dressed in like tribal, like African tribal masks. Like
In the
not like
Amazon, which is
yes, in
not
the
in
Amazon.
Africa.
No, and they're throwing spears at you because
Yes.
this is like
Why
again like
wouldn't they?
a worldwide multinational like political organization that has highly trained soldiers, and they also have guys dressed in fucking like African masks that throw spears.
They got to the natives. That's
Yeah.
although I don't know how.
So then you go into the
Promised them
fucking
something. I don't know.
you,
They probably decided to give them. They probably decided to give the Mesopotamian gods or the.
the Mesopotamian.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God, this game has screwed up my geography worse than it already was. The the Aztec gods, the Mayan gods, and the Incan gods. I guess they must have promised their gods that they would like write them a bunch of nice rituals that they would just bring them a bunch of nice ritual sacrifices. I don't know. Maybe they promised them that they could. Maybe they promised them an Aerosmith concert. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, they already captured Aerosmith, so
Yeah, I mean, all they really have to do is just deliver on that. Or
yeah,
told them they could sacrifice Aerosmith. Who knows?
maybe
Maybe.
throw them into a volcano. But they're not
Yeah.
virgins. They're like the opposite of virgins, so that would probably
Yeah,
anger the gods.
totally. It probably would. I
Um,
mean, or they're just entertainment for the gods permanently, so they could just
yeah.
do that. I don't know,
Like,
or like or like they would eat their hearts and they would like, just gain all of their musical essence, not knowing that it's of course, in the scarves.
yeah, of course.
All the talent in Aerosmith is specifically from the scarves.
Yeah, they have to wear the scarves, otherwise nothing would work.
They were in the same. They were in the same place where the guy gets the Hellraiser puzzle box. That was to the left.
God.
Like, what's your pleasure, sir? Oh, those scarves seem pretty nice. You don't want the box? No. What about this monkey's paw? No, I think I want the scarf. Just take the box. No, 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 no. We're good. We'll take the scarves.
A monkey's paw.
Do you want a mogwai? No.
Oh God.
No, we've read about those things. We would get wet so fast. Have you seen our backstage area? No, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take the scarves.
What was oh, so yeah, the Amazon, you enter the fucking facility.
I mean, have you seen what they look like? They've aged terribly.
Yeah,
That has
well,
to be
it's
what.
like, you know,
That's
it's
got
like
to
the
be the
One
cost of
Ring.
this. That's got to be the cost of the scarves. It probably
Yeah,
drains your
it's like the One Ring. You slowly become like gaunter and become like a fucking ring wraith, except you're a scarf wraith.
We've really just solved all of Aerosmith. We've
Yeah,
figured the whole Aerosmith puzzle out of all of their success, all of their talents, even their aging patterns. We've figured everything
yeah.
out. It's solely the scarves' fault of it. It's solely the scarves. Change my mind. You in digital media device land. Write down in the comments or send us an email at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com or or send us a comment on YouTube and tell me I'm wrong. Change my mind. Give me a good reason as to why I shouldn't believe that the scarves has everything to do with Aerosmith's success. How dare you?
Now, yeah, now we're gonna get like a ton of like Aerosmith people that are gonna hate on us and fucking downvote everything.
Well,
Like
if you can
thumbs down
find
our
a way,
videos.
if you can find a way to prove me wrong when it gets very very cold, I will take a video of myself licking a telephone pole.
Oh God.
And I will get my tongue stuck, and then I will have to call some doctor in the family. We have dentists, so I guess that's a start. One of my friends is a nurse practitioner, so maybe I'll have to call this fella over, and they'll just have to surgically remove my tongue. How about that? Then there's
All right.
show, or I'll just try to make good use of it, and we'll just have the worst show in the world done by a guy who lost his tongue off of a terrible bet about Aerosmith. How was that? Does that work for you in digital media device land? Change my mind. Aerosmith, their secret is in the scarves. Change my mind.
This is getting so
This
deep.
is now an infomercial for scarves.
Yeah, for magic scarves.
Magic scarves, of course, but scarves in general. Maybe one day you'll find a magic scarf. Don't tell anybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, the magic scarf wouldn't help you for what's coming next in the Amazon jungle level.
Oh no.
You make your way through this facility, and so they're like fucking. They're doing two things. First of all, they're putting like the weird poison food. It's like a manufacturing facility for that, and then also they're turning the women into like mutants and that wear like fucking like radiation suits and are working in the facility. Like they go into this machine, they turn into like a hairy like werewolf looking weird ass thing. Then they put a radiation suit on and start like working in the facility. So you have to like blow up the machines that are making the mutants to save the women. And then you make it to like where the chemicals are coming out, the chemicals that they're putting in the food, and it's just this green fucking vat in like the back. And it turns into a giant skull. A giant green chemical skull that shoots out like
Eyeballs,
chemical teardrops or eyeballs or whatever out of its eyes sockets.
Yeah. Its eyes shoot out more eyeballs, basically.
Yeah.
They're like dripping in chemicals. It's very bizarre. And you have to shoot all of the eyeballs and him.
Yes.
And you have to just try to just like get as much as you can, and you pretty much just keep going until it stops. It's like this weird it's a seemingly endless loop, and you have no idea when you're even getting close.
Yeah, there's no explosions. You just keep shooting him until he dies, pretty much. And then the green chemical skull man dies, and then a giant fucking bug just comes out of nowhere with a long neck and starts attacking you, and you have to run away from it. So you run back through the whole entire facility out to the like outside part where there's like a rope bridge, and the only way to kill it, which they don't tell you this, you just have to like do fucking like trial and error and figure this out. That you shoot the rope bridge and like destroy the ropes so that the bridge collapses and the weird bug thing just falls into the cliff, like falls into the canyon,
But isn't it
and just
flying?
no, it's not. It's just like a giant, like it's like a giant cockroach except with an extendo neck.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very strange. So then you kill this bug and it goes down, and you win. And so after you complete all three of those levels, you get to go to Wembley Stadium and fight Helga. First, you have to destroy the wall, which is basically like a giant wall of television speakers that is like broadcasting non-propaganda and trying to like indoctrinate people. Then Helga comes out, who's like
they
this
could
like
just not look at it.
exactly. But I guess you're in Wembley Stadium, you're expecting Aerosmith to play, but you
Right.
have to watch this bullshit. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, most people would probably just assume that it's their cool intro video. So that's pretty. That would work
Well,
pretty well, actually.
also all the all the different non-boys that you fought throughout the whole game come out. It's like like at the end of like a musical where like every character in the musical comes out and sings the big like finale song. It's like that, except like you're getting shot at.
Okay.
So you got the tribal guys, you get the ninjas, you got the roller skater guys, you get the regular non-boys with guns. At this point are all wearing, first they were just wearing yellow shirts, but now they're wearing like red shirts and blue shirts. They're just it's like a rainbow basically.
Yeah, they're just happy to be there. They're figuring things out. They don't have
Yeah,
they don't have an official color, so they're just like testing out all the different designs.
yeah. After you destroy the televisions and destroy the wall, then you have to fight Helga, and so this like little petite woman with a fucking black leather jacket and black hair comes out,
You also
and
have to go through, well, like also while you're going through here, you have to try to find all of the Aerosmith members too.
oh, I was gonna get to that. I was gonna get to
Okay,
that. So that's
okay.
for the special engine ending.
All right. So
But
keep
after,
keep,
so
keep
first you
going
gotta
as you were, as you were.
so you have to fight Helga, and she's like this little petite little girl woman, and she's got like a machine gun. She's shooting at you. She's like rolling, like doing cartwheels around. Eventually, you shoot her enough, and then she like goes backwards and sits in this chair and turns into a giant pig monster in a fucking flying chair. And you have to
Of
kill
course she
her.
does.
Yeah. You have to kill her by blowing off all her limbs and destroying like every part of the chair, and like you slowly like blow off her like skin until like
Oh
the
my
bone is
god.
exposed. Then you blow off the leg with the bone. It's like fucking so weird.
This is like the Legend of Zelda if it was like rated R and like Ganon is a woman.
It was like the Legend of Zelda if
Like
Shigeru
not
Miyamoto did a fucking bunch of crack before he wrote it.
yeah, basically not like the Legend of Zelda at all.
Yeah.
Instead of a Triforce, it's just a gun. Like that's all you need. No, it's
Yeah, it's just a gun.
car. Aerosmith's car is the Triforce.
Oh no, their scarves are the Triforce.
This is true. It's all about the scarves.
It's all about the scarves. Uh, so you win, you kill them, and then you get your final score tallied up, and you get your ending, and So you had mentioned just a few minutes ago about finding the all the members of Aerosmith. So in every level, you could kind of take alternate paths. You could go left or right, or do different things. It gives you options to go. So you have to kind of explore every level a little bit like that, and then you find all the members of Aerosmith hidden somewhere in the level. If you get all the members of Aerosmith together and then beat the game, you get the special like good ending, which I'm pretty sure is just Aerosmith plays, and everything's good, and
Yeah, you just go backstage and they like play. In the arcade, they play "Walk This Way." For
yeah.
like they.
I think they play Walk This Way in the PlayStation version as well.
Oh, okay, and
Oh no, dude. Okay, dude
they do
looks
play
like a
"Dude
lady.
Looks Like a Lady" in the console versions. I don't know if
Okay.
PlayStation one, but in the Super Nintendo and the Sega ones, it's "Dude Looks Like a Lady" for some weird reason. There's no explanation as to why they like just put one song in one version and the other songs in the other. I don't under. There's no reason. It's just
No.
different for whatever reason. On the, like,
Well, it's like in friggin' Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, how in the arcade version they had like the Thriller level, and you actually played Thriller when you used your special. But then in the Sega Genesis version, they took Thriller out, but you still do the Thriller dance.
yeah,
So it's like
I don't
just
know.
who the fuck knows who makes these decisions and why? I'm sure it's got something to do with like friggin' legal rights or something to songs.
There's probably some licensing thing in there.
Yeah.
Like
So yeah. So if you get all the members of
maybe if
Aerosmith,
the
you get the
songs
good
were on
ending,
different
and
albums and the like and like the license expired or something, or
I
like
guess
I don't know, or maybe it was like a contractual thing where like it was like a usage. I don't know. There's some
it could
weird
be because
reason that we
like
don't understand.
arcade version, you're playing in an arcade, which is a public space, and it's considered like a public performance, so they have to get some kind of weird license for that.
I
Who
have
the
no
fuck
idea.
knows?
It's dumb.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. You get your final score, and you get totaled up, and basically it's how much destruction you did, how many non-boys you killed, and it's a typical rail shooter kind of thing. You get tallied up, and you win, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's basically really is like a very like standard rail shooter, but the appeal behind it is that it's Aerosmith, literally
Wait, so what's the
Aerosmith in the
bad
game.
ending? The, like is it
I
no
don't. I think it just says like,
win?
oh, I think you said it says like, oh, good job, you destroyed the New Order, but you didn't find all the Aerosmith members. Try again, or something like something stupid like that.
Oh,
Like
all
it gives
right.
you some kind of message like that.
It's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to go back and play it again and find all the members, like you can. But I mean, I think at that point you've pretty much beaten the game, and it's like you don't
Yeah,
really need to do
there's
it again.
yeah, the reward is not that great. Like you don't get like a you don't like you don't get like a music video or anything.
No,
Like,
I mean, it's not a
it's just like
long
a
game by any means. It's like
no,
you
no.
can
You
probably
could
beat
probably
it
beat
within
it.
an hour or two,
Yeah,
if that even. It's
yeah.
not long.
Like when the like I had a I had a friend that used to come over every once in a while and like we would just play the game and if we just got bored like he would just bring it and like if we just didn't want to like if we just got bored or frustrated with like whatever games we were playing we would just pop in Revolution X.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah, it was same with
just
me.
cuz just cuz we knew that it was a game that we were pretty much guaranteed to beat.
Yes. Yeah,
But
me and my friend would beat it all the
go
time, and then sometimes we would try to find all the members of Aerosmith. But it was kind of hard because you had to like the way you like explored the levels is like really not intuitive at all. Because again, you have to like shoot like the weird fucking like it's like basically like CD like playback buttons. Like it's like the fast forward, rewind button kind of thing, and you have to
yeah.
shoot them to make them work to like go like left or right or whatever. So it's kind of annoying. Overall, I mean, it's a fun little time sink. It's not a great game by any means, but it's like one of those things. It's like watching a bad movie, like that is bad, but it's like one of those like Independence Day, or
For Con
any
Air.
Michael Bay movie, yeah, Con Air or something like that. It's so stupid. It's not a good movie, but you watch it because it's just fun to watch. And that's Revolution X. It's a stupid game. It's not like very advanced at all. It's a basic rail shooter. It's not long, but it's fun to play, and it's cool because you have Aerosmith. So you get to listen to Aerosmith music. You get to see the members of the band, and it's just so cheesy and corny. It's fun.
Yeah, I think that sums up the game pretty nicely. Speaking of bad movies, we do have a pretty terrible movie coming up.
Yeah.
Actually, we have several coming up. For next week, we'll be talking about the trauma film Thanksgiving, and then in December, our Christmas movie is well, it's Santa's Sleigh, which stars Bill Goldberg as
Yeah.
Santa, who is evil and goes on a killing spree. So, yeah, figure that one out. But yes, Revolution X is that kind of game where you know that it's
Yes.
a great game, but you know you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. It was apparently originally Midway was trying to develop a Jurassic Park rail shooter, but Sega
Oh,
got the
that
rights to
probably
that
would have been
instead.
really good.
Yeah, I mean, we had the Jurassic Park rail shooter arcade game, which was a really fun game for anyone who hasn't played it. It was cool
Hmm.
because you like sit in it like a fucking jeep, and you have like a light gun, and it was cool.
It is a very good
Um,
one.
Also, apparently they were developing a sequel to Revolution X that was gonna feature Public Enemy.
Oh, that would have been
But
friggin' awesome. I would have loved.
yeah, it would have been pretty badass, but it was scrapped because of the negative reception that the console versions received, which the console versions were not that great. Like
No, they
arcade vision
weren't.
version was good, the PlayStation version was okay. The SNES version was fucking awful. It didn't even have like the full songs, like it had just like little 16-bit versions of the songs. And
Yeah, they did the best that they could with what
yeah,
they had. But yeah, there were like very little snippets from like certain songs, and they just like looped over and over, and that was just kind of the level. The songs that you would have was several, like it was "Eat the Rich," "Sweet Emotion," "Toys in the Attic," and sometimes "Walk This Way," depending on what version you were playing. Uh,
yes.
I don't know what a Muzak version means, but a version of "Love in an Elevator" plays, and like the elevator part of.
Muzak is like elevator music.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's like a part when you're going it down when you have to go from the jungle to the facility, you get in an elevator and Love in an Elevator plays, which like haha. Um the console version also has like some loops of Ragdoll for like the main menu and like
Yeah.
Fevers in the Middle East and like we said, Dude Looks Like a Lady for the ending.
Yeah.
But they did the best with what they had and like it was nice that they like went out of their way to just go get like to just like borrow Aerosmith songs and try to get actual Aerosmith songs because they really could have like if because like they really could have just like had some generic rock track like just playing
Yeah.
throughout the thing and they could have only just had one song that was like a 16-second loop.
Yeah.
Instead, they ended up taking the high road and they just like and they actually used bits of Aerosmith songs. So they did they did do some really nice touches on this game that I think helped redeem a lot of other things that like they weren't able to do. I think that helped it a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think the fact that Aerosmith was like directly involved in it also wasn't just like their music. Like they were actually in the game, and it was them voicing, and they did all the motion capture too. That was pretty cool for a game for that time, especially because this is a time where like video games were pretty popular. They were starting to get popular, but they weren't really super mainstream yet. In the '90s, they were kind of like, okay, yeah, like kids play video games. They weren't like mainstream news. Like today, like everybody plays video games. Like everybody, literally, plays
Right.
video
And this was
games.
also like a semi early step in video games as well. Like this is
Yeah,
only like a decade removed from like Atari and Pong basically, if that.
yes,
Um
yeah, and it really
and
was. It was probably the first game to actually feature a real live music band. Like
yeah.
there. Obviously we got later on we got like different things like Guitar Hero that had different bands, and they
Mhm.
actually released, I'm pretty sure, Guitar Hero Aerosmith at some point.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and so but this was like the first time that there was actually like a band in that was like featured heavily in a video game.
Hmm.
They obviously had done stuff with like movies before because you had movie tie-in video games. In fact, Midway actually developed shortly before this Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which was very similar to Revolution X in that it was a railgun shooter that was a pretty big arcade game.
Right. It didn't that wasn't that where the guns were the attached guns that were like just moving from left to right on the like planted on the arcade came from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was like the guns that the like from like the future, like the laser guns that the Terminators use in the future scenes, basically. It
Right.
was modeled after that.
Also, like fun fact, Mortal Kombat 2 has an ad with with the Revolution X logo that like the arcade operators could toggle on and off.
Oh, really? I didn't even know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny.
Well, I mean, that was Midway plugging their
Yeah,
of the game,
of
obviously.
course, but yeah, like like video games weren't quite in their infancy anymore, but
No, they were like
I would say,
adolescents. That was
yeah,
the time of video game adolescence.
yeah, I would say that they were like that they were like toddlers to like 5 year olds at that point. Like,
I even a little older than that because
yeah, maybe
you
like
already
10 year
had,
olds.
yeah,
Yeah,
because you already had several console generations by that point. You were in PlayStation, which was you had the first generation consoles like Atari and shit. Then second
hmm
generation like the original NES. Third generation, the Super NES, the Sega Genesis, and so it was really like the fourth generation of video game consoles that around the time that at least when the home ports came out. Obviously arcade's a little different because the arcade machine was always more advanced back in those days than the home consoles because it was only playing one game. It was dedicated to that one game, so it was really easy to make it better than what the home consoles could offer.
yeah.
Graphics wise at least. But yeah, it was again it was a fun little game. It was pretty. I would say it was pretty influential, and like I said, with the fact that it was one of the first games that had a band in it. Um, again, not one of the greatest games, but still fun. A lot of people say that it was not a good game, which it's not. It's not a great game at all by any means, and it was not well received, especially the home console versions. The arcade obviously did a little bit better, but the home console versions were pretty uh, almost panned almost universally.
hmm
Um, but but that was always the case, I think, with home console ports of arcade games,
Yeah, actually,
especially
I got a
especially like
I
gun
got a funny
games. Because
story about one of the critics actually from the Wikipedia. Um,
oh,
so Scary Larry of GamePro, he did the review of the PlayStation version and he panned it as well, just like most of the other critics.
mhm.
I was at a job interview and the guy and like one of the people that was interviewing me turned out to be Scary Larry.
Really?
Yeah, so like midway through the interview, like we were talking about, like I interned at WWE, so we were like, so we were just going through some things, and he was like, "Oh, so you interned at this was like when I was like pretty fresh out of college," and he was like, "Oh, you were in like you interned at WWE. That's really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I used to watch Raw with Joey Styles, who was the ECW commentator every Monday. It was a really fun experience. I got to meet some of the people. It was neat." And he was like, yeah. One time we were reviewing like one of the WWF games, and like they had them come over for like promotional things. So like we got to just like hang out with them for the day or something. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, what did you used to do? He was like, yeah, I used to write for GamePro.
Oh,
And I was like, who were you? And he was like, I'm Scary Larry. And I was like, get out of here, man. That's so cool. I used to read.
yeah,
I probably still like at the time. I had like I had like years of issues of GamePro just like saved
yeah,
in boxes. And I was like, dude, if I get to work here, like I'll bring them in and we can just like and like you could sign some of these things. Like it would be really cool.
yeah.
He was like, yeah, it was really fun. He was a very nice guy. I ended up not getting the job, but he's a very cool dude. I won't say where he worked or works because I'm not gonna like I don't need the world doesn't need to know what Scary Larry's up to. I will let the man and his family like live a normal private life away from prying eyes of digital media device land. But he was a very nice guy.
Nice. That's hilarious. That's a small world, I guess.
It's crazy, man. I guess this was the purpose of meeting him so I could talk about it one day on the show. Okay, well
Yeah.
now people know that. Um, yeah. So as you were saying, critics panned this thing.
Yes.
I mean, it was not. It just wasn't. It wasn't close to what they had experienced from the arcade game. And if you ever get to play both versions, which I suggest you do if you can find a way. You will notice a stark difference between the regular arcade and the console port, just because the consoles couldn't handle what like we said before, like for the most part, the consoles couldn't handle what the arcade was, and you also there was no like light gun like extension or anything that you could use with the other ones, so like you didn't get the full experience that you would have got
Mhm.
with the arcade. But I mean, now to me it's mindless fun, even though it's more of like a guilty pleasure game. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to pick up a serious game, and if you wanted to like if you it, like if you were in the mood to play a good game and you like pop this in, you definitely would be disappointed. But if you just wanted to if you just wanted to waste time, then like this is perfect for that.
Yeah. And every once in a while, I haven't done it in a long time, but I would just pop it in just to play it, just for like the nostalgia factor of it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I still like it. I would go back and play it again. I would.
Yeah.
I really would like to know if any like how far they got with with Revolution X 2 with Public Enemy.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah. I wonder if it was actually like being developed or if it was just like in planning stages.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question that I'd like answered. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll get Chuck D or Flavor Flav on the show. What's he doing? He hasn't done a reality show in a while. He could come on and like end.
Yeah. Talk to us about Revolution X2.
Or either that he'll just like either that he'll just come over. He won't want to do it, and then he'll just like clean our clocks by like beating us repeatedly with his clock
Oh my
chain.
god. That escalated quickly.
Yes. Or he'd like gore us while he's wearing his Viking helmet. I don't know what this man gets up to. But it would be really cool just to know what happened and like how far they got with it. Because if there's any like potential like demo gameplay developed, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
You know,
It'd be pretty cool, I bet.
or even if they just had like test photos of like just a working cover or something, that would it. I don't know. It'd be really cool to see. But I have no idea if this. I have no idea how much of this or how little of this exists. But I think they should have went ahead with it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the console or the arcade version probably would have been pretty successful.
Yeah, like
Although that was kind
just
of like
not.
this,
I would just
arcades were in
not do.
decline
Yeah, I mean, what
throughout the late 90s.
was? Oh well, the Aerosmith. Well, the Aerosmith arcade, I guess, came out in '94. So it was like at like peak arcades.
Well,
Um,
yeah, but if this came out after the home consoles, you have to say it's a couple of years later, so I would say it's like more in the
yeah, it
later
was more
90s,
like
97, 98.
yeah, but arcades were still going on for a while. I think
Yeah.
like, arcades started to really decline. I want to say around like once the consoles started getting really good. Like once like and I don't mean like not to say the consoles weren't good, but I mean like once graphics really started getting sophisticated, like around the time of the PS2, I want to say is where arcades started to drop off.
Yeah, I would say that's probably, yeah. But even maybe a little bit earlier too, because I remember the arcade in my town, they put, forget when that closed. It was like the early 2000s, maybe like 2002 or 2003. I think it closed. Um,
Yeah, we had a ton of them. God.
that was the only one around for a long time, and then until like they started rebuilding arcade, like Dave and Buster's and all that kind of stuff. Like there was only really the one that was in my town, and that was it. That was all. That was close by.
No, they had a million of them. I mean, Coney Island still has arcades, but but the arcades are like it's like a shell of what once was.
Yeah,
Like maybe there's only like 5 to 10 machines as opposed to like just and it's like in a smaller area that they've like shrunk down and they like for like other things, and like as opposed to like the hundreds that you could just go in the one section and like they used to have like three arcade sections and now I think they only have one small one or um
Yeah.
but and then they had another one in Caesar's Bay that was just there for the longest time. I think it was called like Smiles. Yeah, I had one of my birthday parties there, and like we did that, and then there was like another place called It's an Oops, but the best one was Funtime USA, bar none.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you're not from New York, or the New York City area, then you don't know what I'm talking about. If you've watched, there, how do I the only way so a lot of you have seen it maybe without knowing that you haven't that you've seen it, but Funtime USA had like a deal with WWE, then WWF, for like many years, where they would come in and they would do autograph signings, like Shawn Michaels came, um Mick Foley came. That was the only one that I went to. I think they had The Rock. Like whenever WWF was in town, they would do like a big signing at Funtime USA. And Funtime USA had like it was the perfect action zone for like kids. Like it had
Mhm.
gargantuan slide, that you would like get in like a potato sack to like go down.
That's pretty badass.
It had like arcades everywhere with all the best, with like the top of the line arcades with like all of the with like every game that you would want to play. Even the prizes like that you would win were like amazing, like consoles and TVs and things.
Yeah.
Like it was like a little carnival inside of like a warehouse, basically. They had like a whole like like play like giant play area, but this was like massive.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, the so people who've watched wrestling in the early 2000s have seen this place before. Um, there was like if you remember Crash Holly, and
Yes.
when the Hardcore Championship was 24/7
Oh my god. Yeah.
best. There's one particular thing where the headbangers were constantly trying to to take the Hardcore Championship from Crash Holly, and
Hmm.
like he was the Houdini of hardcore because he'd always get away, but he'd get the crap kicked out of him, but he'd always manage to get away, and he'd like stay champion forever, and it was like just the some of the funniest segments I've ever seen were like where like people would just try to take the title from him at all times. They do that now with the 24/7 championship, but it's not even close to the same thing. Like
Yeah.
with this like just random people, like referees would try to like take the belt from him. Um like just massage therapists while he was getting a massage, they would take the championship from him. Like just as long as you had a referee with you who would like officiate the count,
uh,
there was not like the belt would be defended and like the match would just start anytime, any place. So it just called for all sorts of shenanigans. But there was one particular taping which I happened to have gone to that taping. I was the taping was at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. Um this was like a fifth grade. This was like a fifth grade graduation present or a birthday present from my parents or something like that.
yeah.
I was maybe like 10 or 11 years old. It was a great SmackDown from what I can remember. We got to see everybody. It was like Brothers of Destruction versus the Dudley Boys, which what else could you want?
Damn.
And
Yeah, that's
it was
fucking awesome.
it was a stacked card. But anyway, in this particular taping, Crash Holly is hanging out at Funtime USA, and the headbangers are at like they ambush him at Funtime USA. Now, of course, for this stint, there's no children or anything. WWE like obviously like rented out the building to shoot this,
Yeah.
and he makes use of the entire space while he's trying to dodge them. Like uh, there was like a Tarzan glide kind of thing that would like lead into the ball pit and the action thing. So like he goes on the Tarzan, like he goes on the Tarzan glide and he catches him and does a Hurricane Rana through it. It's like all like he like escapes the ball pit and he like runs out and he runs up the stairs. He goes into the arcade section and he's like throwing like the balls from the ball pits at them. And like he gets in the slide, he gets in the potato sack and he gets down the slide with the belt and everything, and he like runs out while while they're fighting to like who's gonna go in the slide first, and like it's amazing. You have to
Hilarious.
like just go on YouTube and just find like Crash Holly Funtime USA. I get you'll definitely find it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in wrestling, and it was Funtime USA was friggin' awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like anybody who was anybody had their birthday party there, and you had
Yeah.
to have at least one birthday party there. And everybody would, and the minute that everybody found out that your birthday party was at Funtime USA, suddenly everybody was your friend.
Yeah.
Everybody had to come. Everybody was because that was the thing. You weren't cool if you didn't go to anybody's if you didn't do a birthday party at Funtime USA, and then you weren't cool if you didn't go to that birthday party. So
Yeah.
you had to go, and like I'm sure my parents spent hundreds of dollars on people that they have that I've never mentioned since, or I've never talked about, or they've never like that never came over the house. But like just that one day, I was their friend.
Yeah.
So like
that was like
things
our
to buddy
arcade
up.
too.
Yeah, it was like you'd have to barter with like that kid. Hey, if you invite me to your birthday party, you can have all of my snacks for a week or whatever. And like I'll make sure we get okay, fine, but it has to be fruit roll up. Oh yeah, we're getting fruit roll up. Don't worry about it. You'll get your fruit roll up. But I need to see the invitation first. Like there was all like you do whatever you had to do to go to Funtime USA for that birthday.
Yeah, ours it was the same thing with ours. It was like
Otherwise, you would be
had
shunned. You'd be
everyone
shunned
had
from
their
society if you didn't go to this party.
everyone had their friggin' birthdays there. It was called the Great Escape, and it was
Oh
small. It was
wow.
like I
Sometimes
actually
the
think
teachers would flog you if they found out that you didn't go. With
it. I think ours was small. It was only like the size. Like I think it's a Starbucks now. That's how small it was.
oh my god.
Um,
Funtime
yeah,
U for
but
context, Funtime USA is now a storage facility.
oh yeah, that was like it must have been a warehouse because they had all those
Oh,
fucking
it
slides and
was
shit.
huge, massive. They had,
Ours was
they
always
had
had
rides
really
in
good
there
games
too.
though. That's pretty
Like
badass.
they had like
Yeah,
a little they had like a mini roller coaster and they had like one of those like one of those like things where like you strap you it was like one of those like airplane kind of rides or whatever where
oh yeah,
like they had the this place had everything.
yeah.
But yes, the Great Escape.
It was they had always had like the best games there. They always had like House of the Dead, fucking like Time Crisis, the Jurassic Park game, Simpsons arcade game, the Star Wars arcade game. It was always like the best games.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have like really obscure ones like Battle Schools, which was like only like like it wasn't even like translated into English. It was all Japanese.
Oh wow.
And it was like a Japanese fighting, like a tournament fighter, except like all the characters were like high school kids, basically. Um, but like I remember because everyone used to have their birthday parties there, and basically it was like it was like unlimited tokens for 3 hours. That was the party, and like they would
Jesus.
order like pizza or something and like soda, so you'd have like friggin' just like unlimited tokens. And me and my friends, we beat the friggin' Simpsons arcade game. We beat the Jurassic Park game there once. We beat House of the Dead Part 2.
Oh, that's
It was yeah. We you have unlimited tokens, so you can just keep
yeah.
sinking tokens into it, and you would never lose. So it was pretty amazing.
So you didn't suffer like G did.
But
No? All right.
no, I guess not.
I tried. I tried. Somebody will get that. Oh god. But the best arcade ever. I mean, and this was I mean, this was like the serious arcade was the one in Chinatown. Like there would be like legit like underground gambling in there.
Oh shit.
Like yeah, it was across the street from Wohop, which is like which is a famous Chinese restaurant that never closes in New York City. It's like when you go to Chinatown, you're pretty much only going for one specific reason. If you're like you're either going for like if you're not going to dim sum, you're going to Wohop. Those are the only two reasons why anybody would go to Chinatown is for either of those things. I mean, they have the markets and everything where you could get like the chocolate covered scorpions and stuff, but like you want it. If you're not going for dim sum, which um I think the name of the place that's really good over there, I think it's called I think it's called the Golden Unicorn or something like that. That's the great dim sum place. But you either if you're not going for that, you're going to Wohop, and Wohop is like this. You got to go downstairs to like there's there's the upstairs Wohop and there's the downstairs Wohop. The food is better in the downstairs Wohop. I don't know why. The food it might even be the same kitchen, but for some reason the downstairs food is way better.
Mhm.
And they never close. Like Wohop is a place where if you're going, you have to go at 2 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no reason why you would go at normal hours.
Yeah.
Like it's like, and everybody goes there after because that's the only place that's open. But it's right in Chinatown. It's right next to, there's at least there were when the arcade was there. There was like a bar. There was like a karaoke place right there. I'm sure karaoke is still around there. But the arcade, I thought that place would never go away. It was like the most intense thing that I've ever seen. There were like mobs of people in there, and most of them were just watching. Like there were crowds of people just watching people, like like doing competitive Dance Revolution. And these
Oh shit.
people who went there every single day and did DDR for hours, and
Yeah.
would just like gamble and go back and forth, and this was their lives. Like you would see, like I'm pretty sure people got stabbed over like playing Marvel versus Capcom.
Oh my god.
I'm sure like it was a wild freaking time. Like you'd go there and they'd never check ID, so like you'd go in there with like a 40 that you just bought from the other guy who didn't. This was me in high school, by the way. Like in like freshman and sophomore year, because around like junior year was when all of like the bigger was when all the arcades really started to close down. Um, but oh my god, Chinatown was like a madhouse arcade. Unbelievable. I have never seen people just throwing money like down for like gambling, like just crowds of people just like throwing down money, and like there was all kinds of characters in there. It was it was like being at like an underground like mafia fight club, but
That's hilarious.
games. It was what an experience that was. Like just seeing two people battling it out at like extreme DDR, and there was just money in between them on the floor. Like people would throw money on the DDR board.
Awesome.
It was so freaking nuts.
It's crazy.
It was so nuts. Anybody who went to the China anybody who's ever been to the Chinatown arcade, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure people got murdered there at some point. There's
It's probably a fucking like triad hangout.
maybe it was. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
It sounds like it if there was illegal gambling going on.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like if like whoever really owned the place was somebody like in the mob or something like that. I wouldn't doubt that at all. If this was like this was like part of a grandiose money laundering scheme. But oh my god, like it was it was the arcade scene to end all arcade scene. Like basically the only thing that comes close is in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, where it's like Shredder's hangout, where like he abducts the kids and he abducts them into the Foot Clan. That's like
Oh
the
yeah.
closest thing to it. I'm sure they had a copy of Revolution X at some point.
I'm sure. I mean, every major arcade did back in those days.
You had to. You had.
Yeah, it was a standard.
Mm-hmm. Even with, like when I would go into the bowling alley, like when I was on a bowling team with my friends around the same, like around like fifth grade, sixth grade, they had a Tekken. I mean, they had a couple of arcade machines in there too, but there was one kid who we just used to call him Tekken Tag. Um, he like he would go there and he would bowl, but like his like he didn't care about bowling. He went there specifically to play Tekken Tag tournament every single week without fail. He would announce his score over the PA. It was like it was just a fun time. Just arcade.
Yeah,
I will always arcades will always have a very special place in my heart.
yeah, yeah. They were always a fun place to be.
And so will Revolution X.
Yeah,
I'm not I'm not a huge Aerosmith fan. I have a couple of
me, yeah,
albums
yeah,
on
me.
vinyl. Um, I saw them for like 2 minutes one time when I was walking to work because like they were doing they well not to my current job. This was like a few years ago. I but like I was walking by Rockefeller Center and it was like whatever the Good Morning show was. Like I guess Good Morning New York. They were like doing like a 15-minute concert or something so that they could like film them. I guess they were going to be guests on like on Good Morning America. That's
Oh yeah.
Good Morning New York. There's AM New York and there's Good Morning America. I guess on Good Morning America because it was right by NBC Studios.
Hmm.
So they just had like a little like concert in the morning. So I saw them for like a few minutes, but I was just like on my way to work. So I maybe caught like one song. Maybe it was "Love in an Elevator." I honestly don't remember. Um, I had tickets to see them with ZZ Top years ago, and like the tour got canceled because that was the tour where the first night Steven Tyler fell off the stage and broke his collarbone.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I never got to see Aerosmith and I never got to see ZZ Top, which now ZZ Top will never happen. I wasn't even going for Aerosmith. I was going specifically for ZZ Top, but
Yeah,
we no longer have Dusty Hill with us, so that will not be happening,
yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, I would see Aerosmith.
I probably wouldn't see them. I'm not really that into them.
I
Like I
wouldn't
like
go.
a couple of their songs, but I wouldn't pay money to go see because I'm sure their tickets are friggin' expensive.
Yeah, they were like I mean the tickets were like I think the tickets were only like $100 or $120 or something like that, but it was at the
Oh yeah, for nosebleeds though.
yeah, they weren't great seats, but
Yeah, no, I'm not paying $100 for nosebleeds.
yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the Garden. What are you gonna do?
If it was $100 for like general admission, I'd be like okay, or like lower level, but
No,
like an
lower level
upper
is gonna
level,
be a lot more. Lower level,
yeah, that's
at
that's
least two
crazy.
hundred.
That's crazy.
It's the Garden.
Ah, fuck the garden.
Well, you live in the Garden State, so you've seen enough gardens.
Yeah, we have the Prudential Center.
Yeah, Presidential Center is good. It's not
Yeah, I like the
and it's
Prudential
not too
Center.
small.
No, it's small, but it's like tall, so like they fit a lot of people in there.
Yeah, and you don't and there aren't really like terrible seats in the house. There's like rough seats.
No,
There's not terrible seats.
no.
But yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to buy tickets for. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy tickets to Aerosmith. But if like, but if somebody was like, hey, Aerosmith's touring, I want to go see him. Do you want to go? I wouldn't say no. I would be like, all right, fine, get me a ticket. But I wouldn't go out of my way to get a ticket. I have read Joe Perry's autobiography, and that was actually pretty good. I would like to read Steven Tyler's. Actually, you know, it was a good autobiography. Billy Idol has a crazy one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like there was just like a period where like I would just go to like, I mean, from where I was from where I was working, I could like Barnes and Nobles, like the big Barnes and Nobles in Union Square was like a 20-minute walk for me. So like I had like a weekly habit of just like all right, get your paycheck and then go down to Barnes and Noble and just like see whatever crazy autobiographies they have like for on like clearance because you'd get like a bunch of great books for like $5. So I would
Hmm.
like do that, read it, and then I would just like donate it or something. I mean, I do that now still, but like I don't go to Barnes and Nobles very often.
I like Barnes and Noble. There's a big one that's a little far from my house, but it's worth the drive. They got a lot of cool stuff in there.
Yeah, they have a good one in Park Slope, which is actually where we had our first date. Um, but yeah, it it's a decent sized one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barnes and Nobles is a great place. If you can get out to one, you should you should get out there and like visit your local Barnes and Nobles and help give them money because bookstores are just struggling. Everything's all all physical retail has been struggling, especially now with like everything that's gone on. So like do yourself a favor, head out to a Barnes and Noble or any mom and pop shop really, or like a locally owned restaurant or something, not a mega corporation, but like you know, do something to support your local retailer outlets.
Mm.
It's nice and it makes you feel good. Also, read a book every once in a while. It's good for you. I guess that's our PSA. And yay Aerosmith. Go play Revolution X.
Yeah.
All right, can we put this one in the can?
Yeah.
All right, we'll put it to bed, and then we can go to bed.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks everybody. Check out Revolution X if you can. It's a hoot. This has been Why Does This Exist? Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us. It really means a lot. We really appreciate that you appreciate it. Um, I've been Chris.
I've been Rob.
And remember, question everything.